Now I look forward to meeting Holly, if she still feels the same way. Welcome to Secret Story. My lovely wife had been sick for weeks. Nothing serious. Just sick. However, in all our years together, I have never seen her this ill. The past week, she had been feeling better. She had been back to work. Yet, she was still exhausted at home. Friday evening we had a nice grilled meal and finished the series we had been binge-watching. I was hopeful she may start feeling frisky. Alas, it was not to be. We snuggled into bed for a night of restful sleep. As usual, our dog woke me up to go out at 5:30 a.m. My morning wood arose to greet me. "Good morning, my old friend." As I got up, my love asked me to come back to bed and hold her. Upon returning, there was my beautiful wife, laying on her right side. She had kicked all of the covers off in our comfortable room. Of course, as I slipped into bed to spoon her, just wanted to comfort her. So, I got as close as I could and began to gently caressing her back and shoulders. Fingertip touches, lightly massaging her temples, scalp and through her hair, without pulling it. I felt her melt into my knowing touch and express a soft coo. My caressing continued down her shoulders. I continued, listening to her steady breathing, while taking care not to wake her. I spent the next half hour caressing all over her neck, back, upper thighs. As I continued to apply more pressure to her glorious cheeks, her steady breath quickened and she subtly pushed back into my hand. I've been at this for over an hour now. Of course. As my love stirred, I told her I'd be right back to hold her. And for her to take advantage of the vacant bed to get comfortable. After letting the dog out and making coffee, I returned to find her spooning the dog. I walked to her side of the bed to spoon with her. However, apparently she had other ideas. Since it had been so long, and she had been ill, I looked on the nightstand for some lube. I didn't want to irritate her. She opened her eyes. "You won't need that. You've awakened her." That feels amazing. Don't stop. Thankfully, by this time, the dog had jumped off of the bed and exited the room. Casual encounter part 2, Alex, was all I managed to say, and I'm sure I barely whispered it. "Well, Alex," he said, "I think I owe you, and I hate to be in anyone's debt." He leaned in close and guided me toward the rear of the car and rows of empty seats. I watched as his gaze lingered on me a beat too long. Those gorgeous pool-colored eyes slowly traced the curve of my neck, and I tried to figure out what he was seeing. Then he pulled me to a seat, and I forced myself to coyly look away as if I needed an escape. But, fuck, I wanted more. I wanted my turn. My body burned as I followed him to a secluded corner seat in the very last row. He sat down, and his fingers brushed against my thigh. I couldn't take my eyes off his face. I'd jerked him off and imagined who must be behind me, but now I tried to take in all the details, from his early evening whiskers to the pale skin running from his eyes to his ears, showing where he wore sunglasses. His eyes held mine. I felt exposed and vulnerable, but at the same time, I ached for more of his touch. Jackson's gaze never left my face. "You want me to make you come?" he whispered, his breath warm and sultry. Like he didn't know. So fucking bad was all I managed to exhale as every touch brought me closer to my edge. And with that, I fucking let go that I held my eyelids shut, and my eyes rolled back into my head as I came all over those wonderful fingers. An actual smirk, like, "I've got you figured out," or the first time I tasted myself, I'd never dared before. But as my body calmed, the reality of it all became serious. We were in a public place, surrounded by people who could easily see us. You know me, dear diary. The thrill and excitement were quickly overcome by worry and fear. "We shouldn't be doing this," I told him. "We're not," he said. "We already did." "Don't live in the past," he replied with a shit-eating grin. I don't do this," I told him. He chuckled and, "Don't worry about it," he said. "Look around. As far as anyone else is concerned, you haven't done anything. I looked over the few people still traveling with us. Most were hunched over and they stared at their phones, absorbed in their own virtual worlds. There were no knowing glares or anyone paying attention. We were tucked away in the back corner, hidden from their eyes. They just disappeared into their phones, unaware of our presence. As we pulled into my station, as the train smoothly came to a stop, he reached his arm out for my hand. He pulled me down the aisle, out the door, and onto the brightly lit, but empty, platform. We stood there, facing each other, eyes attempting to pierce the other's, and waiting for the other to say something. Anything. Oh, I like the adventure in you. He paused and thought about it. Refreshing, he finally continued. Don't let that disappear. Now, how the hell do you respond to that? I'm still shocked at all of that, but I was absolutely speechless then. Then, get this, he reached into his pocket, pulled out a beautiful silver case, and removed a business card, handing it to me. A business card. Call me, he said, his voice low and seductive. It felt so light, but important. I'm not sure I've received one before. Do people still use them? What was I to do? I simply smiled back at him and slipped it into my purse. As I watched him, he turned and quickly crossed back onto the subway, just as the doors closed. I was left there with nothing but questions. Who was he, really? Why had I pressed back or reached around? Jackson Dempsey, head hunter, Talon Talent Acquisition, it says on the card, written in a beautiful calligraphy font. Maybe he can use that talent on me again.